I love to fly up in the sky. Through the clouds I reach so high, climbing up to touch the light. Adventure calls me day and night. The wind it sings a melody, guiding where I long to be. I'll spread my wings and chase the sun. No limits when the dreams begun. The world below fades out of sight as I soar into the light. The stars above begin to shine, painting trails so bright and fine. Every turn brings something new, endless skies in brilliant blue. The wind it sings a melody, guiding where I long to be. I'll spread my wings and chase the sun. No limits when the dreams begun. The world below fades out of sight as I soar into the light. I'll spread my wings and chase the sun. No limits when the drums begun. The world below fades out of sight as I soared into the light.
Time for round two, I guess. Welcome all to the Glide Slope channel. Today we are attempting to leave Toulouse. Yesterday I tried this very flight, but I had so many technical issues that I was unable to continue. So again, we are taking the same aircraft, Airbus A321 NXLR from Icelandair, Tango Foxtrot Yankee Alpha Alpha, all the way from Toulouse to Reykjavik. More accurately, it's Keflavik airport. Reykjavik apparently is only taking regional flights. Keflavik is the international airport for Iceland. So we are not flying to Reykjavik, but Keflavik. But I believe Keflavik serves Reykjavik, so we are just making our standard walk around. I think this windmill effect is too fast, I believe. It is what it is. I've not seen the weather just yet. So what we'll look at during a walk around is we look for obstructions in the static ports as well as the pitot. That's the angle of attack vane. This is the oxygen discharge. It should be green as it is. Pitot tubes look unobstructed, as well as any other sensors, not just the pitots. There should be a cable connected here to indicate ground power, but it's not animated, not modeled. Parking brake is set, as you can see from this red light here. And we're looking for leakages, open panels. All of these panels are operated by the ground crew, so no point in trying to operate, as this plane also doesn't have many interactive items outside, so It's rather pointy. So let's hop in. The the jetway is already connected, so we'll need to make. In real life, we'll just climb these stairs here all the way in and go through the door that's already open. But since we cannot afford that luxury, because look at it's not animated, we'll just press left Alt C and hop in that cockpit. And 3, 2, 1, black magic. Welcome on board. Once again, Betsy chooses not to be materialized. She's here, but she prefers to remain in her own dimension, so we can't really see her. Again, this is the Airbus A321 NX LR, so A321 Neo from FlightSim Labs, and we are taking it today out of Toulouse, southern France, to Reykjavik, capital of Iceland, more accurately to the Keflavik airport. So let's start our briefing. So here we are, today's flight is Icelandair 3422. Icelandair is the call sign for Icelandair. And we got a cost index of 7. We're going to reach a flight level of 380. This is a step climb. So initially we'll program to 360, and then after Molac steer point we'll go to 380. Expected fuel on board is 3,541 for the block fuel for the entire flight. And we'll be handling the load sheet and all that in a brief moment. Someone asked me once, why do I skip the entire briefing? Well, the briefing is here to be studied by the pilots, and as I hate it when scroll is connected to the zoom level. So like I was saying, the flight plan will be reviewed, as well as landing distances, everything that is required, including NOTAMs, is here. The idea is you need to consult any data from the flight. You can do it right here in terms of waypoints, in terms of limitations, NOTAMs, everything. As for the weather, it's good to know what's the predominant weather for the day. However, as you can see, this is a very long stretch of a flight, and most likely when we reach halfway, the destination weather could have changed. According to live weather, hello AMC, how are you, Richard? According to live weather, there seems to be a strong depression here, so we will encounter some winds in north and mid-Atlantic, mid-North Atlantic. So this is not exactly north of England. This you must look at it as south heading this way. As I'm pointing, south is heading this way. This is north, so it's more or less sideways, because this is how maps are depicted. We are departing Central Europe, so it's in Central Europe. This is a center map, but as you know, Reykjavik is in the middle of the North Atlantic, and it's situated more or less to the north. But since due to Earth's curvature and Earth's rotation, it's more looks like a straight arrow towards that island that appears to be north of England, but actually of the United Kingdom. But actually, it's more or less northwest. It's more west than north, actually. Northwest is pretty accurate. And as you can see, there's a depression. This is why these farps, these wind farps, are pointing at. But the strongest winds are here, so we will encounter some strong winds coming out of France and into the United Kingdom. But then this is, of course, flight level 300. We'll be flying above that 340, so this is more accurate for us. The wings will still be coming from the nose, but a little less stronger or weaker. Oh, you're flying the A330. Nice. I unfortunately can't fly it because I'm in Flight Simulator 2024, and Headwinds project is no longer available. It's not yet available in 2024. So let's go back to, oh, what happened here? All right, let's go back to our flight planning. first of all, let's listen to ATIS. And yes, I checked everything before coming live, unlike the other last time.
Advise on initial contact you have information kilo.
Kilo, all right.
Airport information kilo. 1753 Zulu. Wind 280 at 16. Visibility 10 miles or more. Few clouds at 4,200. Temperature 21. 2.12. QNH 1015.
1015.
Departing runways 32 right, 32 left.
32 right and 32 left for departure.
Advise on initial contact you have information.
By the way, let's check the mail to see if that IRS is still giving us issues. No, it appears that it's been fixed, but we do have a level 2 defect. So, overhead handrail cracked, temporarily replaced with duct tape. All right. As long as we don't keep it that way for too long, it's non-consequential for today's flight. All right, let's initiate flight. Let's first of all quiet our friends here. All right, so fortunately this plane does not operate CPDLC with beyond ATC yet, so we can't operate CPDLC because I'm not connected to FlightSim or anything like that, so I can't request a digital flight initiation, so I'll do it manually in a moment by voice. So confirm we got Icelandair 3422. Let's request data initiation. Alrighty, so we got an ETA at 3 o'clock Zulu time. But we will, this is going to be a long flight, but we will abbreviate, of course. Now, as for the fuel, let's not forget to make this instant so we can load the fuel instantly. And it should be something like 14,000. Actually, it's 13,600. That means that the prediction states that the winds are a little weaker than last time, than yesterday, which is good. So we have requested, oh, it's already done it twice. All right, no issue. Now let's start boarding, and this is when we are going to request via GSX that everything be loaded. All right, while they're boarding, let's request winds. Done. It's going to take a little while. And let's request our clearance from beyond ATC so we can add the runway and departure.
Icelandair 3422 on our way to Keflavik Airport.
Icelandair 3422, Blagnac delivery. Expect runway 32 left, Laku 7 Bravo departure.
Laku 7 Bravo. I believe this is the same.
Laku 7 Bravo departure. Squawk 3150.
3150. Alrighty. Set this to auto and TARA. So it's, I don't know why it always puts a display on above, because that's only good for departure. But we just leave it for normal. We set it for above. Basically, it scans the aircraft above our flight, and that's what you want while departing, but I'll just leave it at normal because there's no difference. Passengers are boarding. Let's just open the door to see them boarding. By the way, I fixed my track IR. Wasn't working correctly, so there's a flight attendant. Passengers are just moving in. Oh, there they are. Yeah. All right, let's close this door. We don't want any prying eyes looking at what we're doing for now. So let's turn on our seatbelt signs. Our emergency lights are already armed. We should have ground control for the guys down there. Don't know why it's turned off. So we got our clearance. Everything's set up for waiting for us to request push and start. Wind data uplink. There it is. So we got our winds aloft, and this will be updated as we go. So we'll just wait for the plane to be fully loaded. We can perform our initial takeoff. So we're going to go for takeoff calculation. So we're going to go for optimal flaps, AC on. We got full length runway 3 to left. Let's calculate our data. All right, so we got 158, 160, 161. Flex 61, stab trim 1 up. So already I see a huge difference in the aircraft CG compared to yesterday. There was definitely something going on because we had flaps 2 for takeoff with a huge trim, like 1.5 trim. It's a lot of trim. We can of course request uplink takeoff data. So we got 158, 160, 161. And as you can see right here, so flaps 2 and up. This is because oh, well, whatever. I actually thought we had config 1 or whatever. So we got flex 61, everything checks out. Now we'll just wait for the cargo and passengers to be loaded so we can conclude our initiation for weights and fuel on board. Hello Andrew, welcome. Sometimes the electronic flight plan, I find the V speeds and flap settings. Other times I can't find them. The V speeds, like the one I was showing you right now, this is modeled into the plane by the FB. Generally speaking, this is not part of the plane. This is just a software the airline makes available for pilots. I believe only Boeing has a standardized EFB, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. The one that's embedded in the cockpit. Every EFB you see that is added on the side of aircraft, except for the Airbus A350 and A380, which is also embedded in the software. But every other airline that has this is most likely like an add-on software. Now, what's in here is just a calculation based on weights. Real pilots actually need to input all the data, so they need to input the passenger number, the CG, everything by hand. The plane, in this case the EFB here for FlightSim Labs, it does that automatically. It just reads what the plane is telling them and it just inserts the data for you. The only thing it doesn't insert is the runway that you need to calculate, you need to add manually. Oh, look at that. Look at the feet. That's very funny. Feet are hanging from the jetway. That's very funny. I didn't notice that before. Just a glitch. So regarding your question, if this is a third-party software, if it's not connected properly to the plane, it cannot read what the plane is saying. So they need to talk to each other. I don't remember well how headwind EFB works, but if I'm not mistaken, it's the same as the fly-by-wire one. And if I'm not mistaken, if you don't have like a proper SIM connect, it won't connect to the plane correctly, or you probably need to load the flight data from Simbrief. That could be the issue with you. I'm not sure. I would need to watch your flight and tell you exactly what you would be. All right, we got a load sheet. This is a preliminary load sheet. So we are expecting 122 passengers, and we got a takeoff weight of 75.5 tons. And oh, who the hell is Lowell Slater? Some fictional name. We even got his phone number if anybody wants to call this guy. Yep, we just need the final load sheet, so it will come in a moment. Let's request weather while we're at it. Let's go through A2, AOC, weather. And we got, oh, there's a warning. We got passengers and cargo loaded. So let's go to our load sheet, mass and balance. And there we go. So we got 122 out of 122, so all passengers showed up. We got more cargo than expected. This is important. And therefore we got 62,300 tons instead of 62,100. We also have a different CG, so instead of 26.7, we got 27.4. The fuel is 13,600. So let's add that to our initiation. So again, we got 62.3 slash 27.4. Bingo. And for the block, we're gonna insert 13.6. Right on. All right, so everything regarding performance is prepped. By the way, in that other page I was just in for the initiation, there's also plenty of data. So you got the trip time and the required fuel for that trip time. So I would say almost half of the fuel I'm taking is for the alternate, which is back to England. That's why I'm taking so much fuel. We got a block fuel, of course, is the total fuel on board. So it includes the trip time, which is 7.8, plus the alternate reserve or the route reserve and the route alternate fuel. So it gives me 2 hours of flight. In terms, I got 3 hours and 42 minutes of endurance. This is the total flight duration, plus I got 2 more hours for the alternate. And I got a final fuel and a minimum destination fuel, which is 6.2. So if I reach the destination below this, it means that if there's something wrong and I can't land, I need to make my calculations correctly, considering the reserve fuel and the final time, final fuel. Otherwise, I might not be able to return. So, fortunately, Keflavik is not the only airport in Iceland. So, if there's something wrong, I can just... Oh, I had that. Volatia. Yeah, I saw that plane recently. If there's something wrong, I need to make perfect calculations to make sure I got enough fuel to return. So let's start our APU. So remember to wait for the flap to open. Well, it's not really a problem. You probably didn't initiate the flight correctly, Richard. That's probably the point. Sometimes you go to Simbrief, you create the flight, then you import it. Other times you forget to import it. That's enough to have an issue importing the flight from the FMC. All right, flaps open. Let's start our APU. We don't need this page anymore. Let's go for the checklist. Gear pins and covers have been removed. Signs are on. ADIRS 3 are on. And to nav. Fuel quantities 13,600 kilograms. And the altimeters are set to 1015 and cross-checked. Before start checklist complete. Alrighty. Just waiting for the APU to go available, to become available, better English. My throttle thrust levers were on reverse for some reason. Alright, APU is available. APU bleed is on. External power, no longer need ground control. So we got everything set up. I don't know why you can't turn off ground control. Alright, maybe it's on their side. So let's request pushback. Let's see if this works today. So apparently all I need to do is turn these two switches and we should have the jetway move. Nope, it's not happening. So still not working, this automation. Unless it's a different one, but every single aircraft that I've known about has always been like this. So let's disconnect the GPU, disconnect the PCA as well. And let's go to services and request push and departure. So the jetway will disconnect. There it goes. Here comes our DAC agent, our apron agent. It's going to take the stairs to the face. Ooh, almost. Yeah. So APU is turned off. Thank you. That's the knock you heard on the fuselage. So let's wait for the preparations before requesting the push and start. Why? Mainly GSX takes some time to prep everything. If I request push and start and for some reason there's another plane here doing the same, the timing, if the timing is wrong, I will have like a huge traffic jam behind me. So in order to avoid that, I start after they lock the gear. This is when I request push and start, just to avoid a traffic jam on the airport. All right.
Alpine 308 Echo, Blagnac ground, pushback approved. Face southeast.
Which one, Richard? Lisbon? Lisbon Airport? All right, let's request push and start.
Icelandair 3422 at gate Echo 62. Request pushback and engine start.
Icelandair 3422, Blagnac ground, pushback approved. Face southwest.
Facing southwest.
Pushback and engine start approved. Face southwest. Icelandair 3422.
Let's just wait for the pushback crew to request where. All right. So no north. Where? I hate when this happens. Which one is which? All right, they're pushing to that side. This is where we're gonna push as well. So let's go nose right.
Release parking brake.
Parking brakes are released.
Commencing push. All engines clear. Start at will.
Starting number 1. I don't know about you, but whenever I say number 1, I remember Jean-Luc Picard on the Enterprise. So we gotta reverse to disagree. That's because I started the flight. That's because I started the flight with the axis on reverse for some reason. After you start the engines, it will clear like it did now, but be careful not to start the engines on reverse because you're gonna have an issue. What is it doing? Look at that. I've never seen a pushback like this.
Alpine 308 Echo. Request taxi to the active.
It's actually going into the other gate. I've never seen this.
Set parking brake.
Parking brakes are set.
Waiting your confirmation for a good engine start.
Waiting for the engine to become available here. Engine avail.
32 left taxi via Tango 41.
Start number 2.
Tango 40, Papa 40, Papa 20, November 2, Mike 2, Sierra 2. Hold short runway 32 right. Alpine 308 Echo.
Starting 2. All we need to do is monitor the temperatures, the pressure, PSI here for the oil, and of course EGT. If it goes beyond that yellow line there, this means a hot start. You need to cut off fuel immediately. That is, if you don't want $1 million repair. Sometimes more than $1 million. LEAP engines need to motor, so they take a little longer than the CFM engines. They're quite faster.
Alpine 737 Delta, ramp Foxtrot 20, request pushback and engine start.
Number 2 has started. There goes the trip. Alright, all engines started correctly. Let's call them out and say confirm.
Hit the ground. We have a good engine start. You can disconnect. Unlocking gear.
Unlocking the gear. So again, I only request taxi now after they clear the aircraft, otherwise I'll create traffic jam because GSX takes their sweet time. Here's something I learned from a real-life pilot, so pay attention for those that fly Airbus. As you can see, I got the APU master on and APU bleed. Now, if you turn off bleed right now, you might have a surge in the system. So the procedure, in order to avoid a surge, is to turn off back left, turn up APU bleed, and turn the back on. You'll have a fault light, but it will resume normal operation.
Tow track disconnected. Bypass fuel.
I'm not sure.
Left is clear. Right is clear.
Copy. I'm not sure this plane simulates a surge, but in case it does, you now know. So let's confirm the weather while I request Betsy to call in to request taxi to the active. So we got 2900, 14 knots, 19 degrees, QNH 1015, and we got thunderstorms embedded, towering cumulus. There's our pin. So we got November 2 for 32 right. We're going to need to follow this taxi.
32 left taxi via Tango 51, Tango 55, Papa 50, Papa 40, Papa 20, November 2. Hold short runway 32 right, Icelandair 3422.
This is a SID, so we're going to go for... Whew, it's a very confusing airport. But I got a trick up my sleeve that you guys can't see. Beyond ATC gives me a map for that I need to follow, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. So we're going to go forth, and then, believe it or not, we are going through T55. Is it T55? Yes. So we're going to go through this taxiway right there. So there we go. So taxi lights on. Before we do that, let's confirm the checklist. After start checklist, NTI is not required. ECAM status normal. Trim set to, so we got 1.0 and up. Let's see if it doesn't reset like it did last time. 1.0 up, flap trim set, and rudder trim set to neutral. After start checklist complete, and we go for the before takeoff checklist in a moment. Meanwhile, let's test our flight controls. Full deflection left, neutral. Full deflection right, neutral. Full pitch up, neutral. Full pitch down, neutral. Full rudder left, neutral. Full rudder right, neutral. Flight controls have been confirmed to be operational and ready for dandy. Parking brake off. Let's taxi. Yeah, it's very interesting. I've learned that from a real-life pilot, and appreciate all the little perks that I get sometimes when talking with these guys. They always have something to teach me. Most of the times they just talk to me, say, hey, you did that thing or that thing wrong. And that's the case. They saw me operating the bleed air and said, no, you can't do that. You might get a surge. I mean, it's not granted you'll get the surge, but it could happen. So in order to avoid the surge, you turn off pack 1 for the left engine, turn off bleed air, and then turn it back on. And the same procedure to turn bleed air, by the way. So if you want to turn on bleed air, you need to do the same thing. So turn off pack left or pack 1 and turn on bleed air, then turn on pack 1 again. And air conditioning surges are a pain in the rear end. I believe it's part of the MEL if one's not working, because it allows also to cool down systems. So if it fails, the MEL might not be accomplished, and you may need to abort. And last thing I want is to abort the flight, because we had a very interesting evening yesterday. So we need to cross runway 32 right, just like EasyJet is doing.
Cross runway 32 right at November 2. Continue taxi via November 2, Mike 2, Sierra 2, Alpine 737 Delta.
I don't know why I can't take off from 32 right, just taxi down the runway and just take off. Yes. There's a beautiful 757, Andrew. Your favorite plane, DHL, is right here. Look at that. There's a beautiful 767 unmarked, probably a cargo airliner. So this is our turn right here. We're going to follow EasyJet. So let's go for the taxi checklist. Flight controls have been checked. Flaps 2 as requested. Takeoff speeds have been set. ECAM memos, takeoff, no blue. Let's turn here. A little abrupt turning, sorry for that. Let's hold at November 2. And let's request crossing. Or let's wait. Alright, let's cross.
Cross runway 32 right at November 2.
Plane's heavy.
Taxi via November 2, Mike 2, Sierra 2, Icelandair 3422.
So this checklist is a little different because we got before takeoff checklist above the line and below the line. So before takeoff checklist above the line complete.
Over to tower 118.1, Icelandair 3422.
So let's switch to tower. EasyJet is taking off. So we're gonna stop here. We're going to turn on our radar, set to auto, system 1, call our guys in the back. We got everything set up. Oh, this should be on instead of auto. Alright, let's call the guys in the and say we're ready for departure, and we'll go before takeoff checklist below the line.
Runway 32 left.
Cabin's ready. Alright, clear for takeoff. Let's runway entry procedures. Let's go. Again, let's warn the crew. Before takeoff checklist below the line. Takeoff runway is 32 left. And packs are both on before the takeoff checklist complete. These checklists are very different from the ones we're used to, because this is not an official paint, so probably the painter added their own checklists for this aircraft. Alright, we're getting ready for departure. Let's put this on the left side, minimize it, and let's go. Misha, I didn't forget the chronometer today. 50% N1. And let's go. Manual flag set. Thrust is set. 100. Rotate. For some reason the V speeds were not set, not sure why. Positive rate gear up. Here comes the gear. I don't know why the V speeds aren't there. They should be. Weird. Just another hiccup.
Icelandair 3422, contact Toulouse, departure 123.85.
123.85.
Contact Toulouse.
Lever set to
123.85. Icelandair 3422.
set to climb.
Toulouse departure. Icelandair 3422. Good evening. 2,600 feet.
Speed check flaps 1.
Toulouse departure. Good evening. Identified. Climb to flight level 180.
Speed check flaps up.
Climb to flight level 180.
180.
Icelandair 3422.
Beautiful day to fly. Don't know where the towering cumulus were, but it's clear sky for me. Autopilot 1 engaged.
All aircraft
Let's clear the
destination Mike now current. QNH1016.
unnecessary stuff. Now Misha is not here. I'm just saying that because whenever Misha is here, let's go to standard. Whenever Misha is here, he always reminds me to set up the chronometer. Chronometer, whatever you want to call it. So only now the engines are getting thrust. So we got our first constraint, 5,000 feet or above. So we are following this departure right here. So we're going to Laku. So we are flying currently out of BO 322 right here, and we're going to fly to Laku. Beautiful France. I'm not sure what's going on with the weather. Let me check. Active sky preset. There's just no weather. Let me confirm here. Yeah, amazing. There's towering cumulus north, northeast, and southeast, but in Toulouse itself, it's clear blue skies. Amazing.
121.25, Alpine 737 Delta.
So I'm going to lock my track IR now down here. How's your flight going, Richard? Where are you? Where are you coming from and where are you going in your flight? Oh, JFK to Lisbon. And you're now over the Azores. Nice. Yeah. That's a good flight. If you're managing to catch the jet stream, then it's a pretty quick flight. Well, compared to not having the jet stream. Did you use the North Atlantic tracks? I'm getting worried with active sky because this is, although it's clear over Toulouse, I shouldn't have like a blank sky as it is now.
Contact Bordeaux Control 121.25.
Contact Bordeaux Control
Let's go to Bordeaux.
121.25. Icelandair 3422. Bordeaux Control, Icelandair 3422. Good evening. Through flight level 156 for flight level 180 direct the coup.
ECA 3422, Bordeaux Control, identified. Climb to flight level 360.
Let's go for 360.
Climb to flight level 360, Icelandair 3422.
Nice. It's very important to choose the right track. Usually that's given by ATC, but if you're not flying with ATC, then you need to choose the correct track. Alright, let's, since we don't have any major turns for a while, we can turn off our seatbelt signs and allow passengers to move freely. We have passed 10,000 feet, so we are turning off the landing lights, or the there's more like it with some clouds depicted. Yeah, I reset active sky to, because I found very strange when active sky just loads a clear sky. There are towering cumulus northeast, so clear skies is just too optimistic. I see. So straight. Well, ATC it usually puts you on a track so they can separate the flights, but if you're flying solo there shouldn't be any problem, even with synthetic AI. Not synthetic, I meant synthetic traffic. So we are passing Le Coup, so we can switch off the oh, not this again. There we go. We are still going through France at the moment. Look at this weather here. It's not a good day to fly to Germany. Look at that. Northern Italy, Switzerland, Germany, all these have weather. There's actually some advisory here, severe turbulence over Germany. You can see here. Let me check for you actually. Looks clear. So you're probably somewhere over here. And it looks pretty clear. I mean, all the bad weather is on northern, well, Central Europe. And there's some bad weather over Norway. Some pretty bad weather. I'm not going to get any bad weather here, but as you saw earlier, I do have some issues with some low depression here. You can see here actually, look at that. So this low depression is not going to affect me, but it's going to give me some rough winds. At least when I pass the United Kingdom, I should have some rough winds. Or I should get calmer winds. But bad weather at this time of the year is pretty normal. I mean, look at this. This is probably a tropical thunderstorm here forming. So there's always weather in the United States. Same here. This is thunderstorm TS. TS embedded thunderstorm, which is pretty bad. Frequent thunderstorms, severe turbulence. Even in Northern Africa, we got some severe meteorology. I don't know what the MTW. I need to know what this is. But you know, everything severe, SEV, SEV. It's everything. Anything severe is not good. There's also some weather over Russia. Embedded thunderstorms. Yeah, it's a rough summer, I think, for Europe. I mean, yeah, hurricane season in the United States, but the weather in Europe has been quite bad this summer. Even for Portugal and Spain, we had so many forest fires. It was just too freaking hot, and all of a sudden it got cold. Weird. Of course, I'll accelerate time as soon as we level up. As you can see, I got some crosswind, 32 knots. This is expected. It might get worse as we go forth because the eye of the storm is right here over the British Isles. So the bridge will cross once we reach it, right?
Charlie Golf, Bordeaux Control. Good evening. Identified. Climb to flight level 340.
Climb to flight level 340. Boeing 74 Charlie Golf.
I don't know what's worse. I don't know what's worse, if it's too cold or too hot. I don't like the heat, but too cold is also not good. Yeah, it's beautiful. I love it. They have multiple, I wouldn't say colors, but planes have different colors. So this one is magenta, then there's green, I believe there's a blue, and the only change is this magenta line. At first glance, I thought this was like the colors for Iceland, which are red and blue and white. But then they don't have any green or blue, so now we're switching comms. Bordeaux.
3422. Good evening. Climbing flight to level 301 for flight to level 360.
Icelandair 3422, Bordeaux Control identified.
We're almost at the top of climb, which is this blue arrow here. So this means that when we reach this blue arrow, for those that aren't familiar, means that we will achieve cruise altitude.
Icelandair 3422, contact Bordeaux control 1.
Another switch handover.
Contact Bordeaux Control 125.3.
It's beautiful Betsy. She's right here. You don't see her, but she's here.
Bordeaux Control, Icelandair 3422. Climbing flight level 314 for flight level 360, direct Chala.
Icelandair 3422, Bordeaux Control, radar contact.
So it's usually stations handing over planes one to another. It's just radar coverage most of the time. So there's stations that are responsible for certain areas. In small countries like Portugal, there's only one, which is Lisbon Approach, that controls the entire continent of Portugal plus Madeira Islands. And then Azores has Santa Maria Oceanic, and Santa Maria controls a good chunk of the North Atlantic. So it's a very, very important station, mid-Atlantic. But in countries like France, they have multiple sectors, so they have each different areas of responsibility. So we are currently in Bordeaux, but there's also Brest, which is most of the northwestern side of France, and on the other side you'll have also other stations. The idea is just to divide responsibilities between multiple stations, so it doesn't rely on one single station, on one single controller. Yeah, I think she's related to Leah, but she doesn't like to show up. I usually move her chair here like this, but she doesn't react, which is a shame. I mean, she does talk with ADC, she's quite helpful, but other than that, she's just absent. You can see who I'm talking about if you look at one of my previous flights on the Phoenix Airbus. That draws the co-pilot, and my co-pilot is a beautiful young lady that I call Betsy. I don't know what's her name. And Betsy hates my guts, so whenever I talk to her, she doesn't reply, she looks away from me. Well, one day we'll be happy together, I suppose, but not right now. This is not useful at all. They could have at least put this in a way that we could move it freely, but there's only an animation here. Yeah, it's not really helpful. Same with these sliders. I mean, they work as the real life plane, but the real life plane, this is like a filter, or brown filter. Here is just for show. Alright, so we are nearing very closely to our top of climb. We'll stabilize there for a moment, and then we'll request a jump ahead feature, and I'll explain what it is in a moment. So what's the jump ahead? The jump ahead feature is unique to the FlightSim Labs A321. I think it's unique for their whole fleet, including the Prepared 3D aircraft. I'm not sure. I never flew them on the Prepared 3D, but I'm pretty sure it's common between the A321 CEO and the A321 Neo that we're flying right now. What it is actually a pretty good alternative to flying with accelerated time. Now, if you are familiar with Flight Simulator, you know that accelerating time in this simulation is quite risky. Let's turn off portable devices. It's quite risky. Why? Because all of a sudden the plane will accelerate to impossible speeds. not literally, it's just accelerating time, but for the plane, it's going to fly like Mach 4 or something like that. The alternative that FlightSim Labs discovered, and it is quite ingenious, is instead of accelerating time, so let's say 4 times the normal speed, and we'll get us like Mach 4, Mach 3, Mach 4 towards our destination, you can actually just jump ahead to a steer point or waypoint, better said, that will, teleport you there, and then yeah, it's usually much more reliable and less bugged than accelerating time. Usually, I've done it several times and it works pretty good, but there are some flaws once in a while when you try to make a jump. One of the flaws is beyond ATC itself. So beyond ATC, I'm going to zoom in to explain to you. Just like real life ATC, it works with boundaries. So let's see if I can get a zoom where you can see the boundaries. Yeah, there it is. So these are the boundaries. So we were halfway in Bordeaux control, and then we're going to enter Brest control, which is this one, then London control, then Shannon control for Ireland, and after that we will get to Shannon Oceanic right here. You see Shannon Oceanic, it's written here. Then we'll enter Reykjavik, our final sector, if you want. So what happens is I'm going to make a jump probably when we are going, probably the next waypoint, after the next waypoint. I'm going to make a jump to, probably not this steer point, maybe this steer point right here, which is, oh, it doesn't give me the info, but I'll confirm which one it is by going through map or plan. And now I'm going to scroll down.
Icelandair 3422, contact Bordeaux Control 130.9.
So these are
Contact
still
Bordeaux Control 130.9.
one more station
Iceland
handover.
3422.
Just go forth. There's a lot of waypoints on this flight. Alright, so this final one is Alden, and then there's Nasbu. So this is Alden and then Nasbu. So we need the previous one, which is this one. So it's 5814 November. Alright, so this is not a waypoint. This is like a grid map grid point. Hello, Airport Wing, Jose, how are you? So I'm gonna make a jump here. Why can I make the jump just, inside Reykjavik already? Well, because Beyond ATC will hand me over, as you're hearing, it sometimes hand me over between stations, and if I make too big of a jump, it sometimes goes crazy and can't find what station I should be at. The big danger with this is that you might just be lost. You're never lost because you got your own flight plan, but ATC will not address you, will not clear you, will not give you any clearances, directions or anything of the sort. So in order to prevent that, I usually just teleport to a good, I would say 1 or 2 waypoints behind. In this case, our flight plan is a little limited because there's only one waypoint after England, after Ireland. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 waypoints, and then there's nothing all the way to close to Reykjavik. And as you saw there, the next waypoint after 5814 November is already my top of descent, so I won't risk it. Why? Because then Beyond ATC needs to, number 1, clear me to the next sector, number 2, direct me to descent and address the landing procedures, so clearance to the star for the approach. All that relies on Beyond ATC not borking itself, and unfortunately it does bork itself. So I'm going to make the jump now to this point right here and hope for the best. Now, in order to do so, so remember 5814 November, in order to do so, we go to our menu, jump ahead, and now we need to search for that particular waypoint. So 15 November, 59. Oh, is that it? 54, 58 14. Oh my, I'm getting old, guys. Alright, so Nazru, Alden, so it's going to be 58, 18, 59, 50, 58, 14 November, then 58, 19. Yeah, 51, 59. One more handover. So it's the one before Alden. It's got to be the 5915, right? There's nothing more. Yeah. So before I enable that, by the way, it's good practice to... Let me just confirm here. So Alban 5915. So this is the one. If I press this now, it will not teleport me yet. It'll just tell me that at that waypoint I'll be at flight level 360, speed 76 Mach, fuel on board 7.1, and the time will be 21:14 Zulu. So that's going to be 2 hours plus jump. It's a big jump. So whose sisters? Oh, Betsy and Leah? Probably. Leah is more of a brunette. No, Leah is a white-haired, right? Betsy's a brunette, so I don't think they're related. I hope not. So let's, before we do this jump ahead, let's conclude our flight plan. Fill in our flight plan, better said, by going to routing, and let's check the landing. So landing will be at runway 28 via Nazbu to Hotel. So runway 28, this is subject to change, by the way. So we're going to go for the Zulu as a standard via Nazbu 28, correct, that's it. Alright, do we have any vias? We do one, so let's check that head over. Temporary insert, and we got it. Now the flight plan is concluded or complete. And as you can see here, it's going to make us go flight all the way in, and then the Keflavik airport. By the way, I'm just going to show you the distance between Keflavik and Reykjavik. So this is Reykjavik right here, Birk, B-R-K, B-I-R-K, and this is Keflavik. Not too far, but according to what I've been reading, Reykjavik airport is not international, it's just regional. And since we're flying out of Toulouse, I decided, alright, so let's skip Reykjavik, let's go to Keflavik, but it's still more or less within the boundaries of the capital of Iceland, Reykjavik. Now if the passengers are going to get mad at me, I don't care, they can take the bus or something, or the train, but it's preferable to fly to an international airport rather than flying into a regional airport that may not have the facilities for our aircraft, and besides, I like flying to big airports. So, by the way, got some weather over here, probably not interfering with our landing, but it will certainly interfere with our approach. We just need to be careful. I hope this is the whole approach, so this is a very long approach, I hope it is, because if it's not, if it's going to demand us to make these weird turns all around, then we're probably going to have a hard time. But I think this is the runway, and this is the exit point for probably the go-around procedure will be radar vectored. Then there's a vertical runway, but we'll see. Yeah, Richard is arriving with his A330, Jose. So let's go back to our flight here. Let's zoom out. Oh, zoom outs everywhere. Now let's confirm this is the waypoint we want. So again, let's move up. In plan mode, we can see on our ND navigation display. So this is Halden, and the first waypoint before Halden is 5915. So this is the one we're going to jump to.
Breast control, Icelandair 3422, flight level 360.
There it is.
3422, breast control identified.
Alright, so we were just handed over to another station. It's very important that you do this jump before or after you're passed on to another station. So here we go. We're going to make the jump ahead. Guys, if this doesn't work, I'm sorry. The time will move forth, so it will be nighttime. We will have minus 7,000 pounds of fuel, something like that. Not pounds, kilos. And will be just before the final waypoint before descent. So let's go. Confirm jump. 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Whoo! Jumped. Let's see. So it's adjusting the attitude. It's adjusting everything. All right, this happened.
Traffic.
And we even got traffic warning. All right, stand by. All right. So let's reduce range for TCAS. Well, we got weather up ahead. Let's go to
Icelandair 3422, contact Shanwick Oceanic 123.95.
all right, let's go to managed altitude.
Contact Shanwick Oceanic 123.95, Icelandair 3422.
All right, as you saw, it turned off our autopilot.
Icelandair 3422, flight level
We got
361.
properly handed over to Shanwick, which is not bad. And we are
3422, Shanwick Oceanic identified.
all right. So we got properly teleported to the right place, as you can see. So we still got some time to prepare our descent. I love these flights when we're almost like following the sun. As you can see, there's some weather up ahead. Active Sky is drawing it as we go. So GPS primary. Yeah, there was some hiccups making this jump. As you can see, it's a lot of things can go wrong. Now we have jumped 2 hours and 20 minutes into the future. How about that as a feature? Andrew, while we were taking off from Toulouse, there was a 757 parked there. I called you, but you were away. You missed it, buddy. By the way, I may be able to fly the 757 in Flight Simulator soonish. There's a company designing one. If I can manage to get a good discount or manage to get the money to buy it, I will, because I want to see my good friend Andrew well represented. We'll see. Let's add a little floodlight now. It's nighttime. And I'm sorry if I keep flying at night, but you know, my work schedule doesn't allow me to do day flights. And even if I change the time, then I will not have the correct weather. I like to fly as realistic as I can, besides this jump I just did. So we are currently with Shanwick Oceanic. So oceanic flying is, well, it used to be a lot harder. Because there's no references, there's no airfields available. Now planes can fly up to 180 minutes ETOPS. That means that they can fly Single engine, if there's an issue, they can fly single engine for 180 minutes. It's ETOPS certification. So that means that if my engine, one of my engines now failed, I could still manage to fly for 3 hours until I find the nearest airport. And these calculations are done by the flight planning. So currently, if I had a failure, I would probably go to one of these aisles here on the right side. As you can see, there's a, let me zoom in for you. There are some aisles there. Probably there's some airfield that's prepared to receive aircraft. Or I can just turn back to one of these airports. There's one here, EGPR. Let's see if these aisles have airports. I know that in the mid-Atlantic there's one. There's one here. So Echo Kilo Victor Golf. So there's always an airport nearby 3 hours away in case of ETOPS certification. Coming into Reykjavik after a while, of course, Reykjavik itself will be available, but if you're in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, there's you need to draw a circle, a 3 hour radius that enables you to fly to the nearest airport in case of one engine failure. So you're flying single engine. Something going on with my autopilot. It's swinging left and right. Let me see if I need to correct it somehow. No, seems okay now. Seems to stabilize. It's struggling to keep altitude though. It's because it's not managed. And it keeps losing. It keeps losing the track. You see, it's swinging left and right. I tell you, this jump ahead feature, it's a bit risky. It messes up with your flight for sure. So we got nothing up until 160 miles ahead. So we're flying in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, more or less the middle, north of England or the British Isles, and we're still pursuing the sun, which is quite a beautiful thing, and I would love to make one of these flights one day, pursuing the sunset. So it gives us a lot of time to look into our approach data. So let's do that. So let's go for the, not the alternate, sorry, for the arrival. So this is Keflavik airport information here. So we got ourselves the star, which is NASBU 2H until further indication. Let's check out how this will be done. So this is the airport right here, and this is NASBU. So as you can see, it's a direct approach towards the airport area, coming from the east to the west. And we'll go all the way to Adova, which is the via waypoint that we selected earlier. And as we go, we're going to start our descent probably before NASBU. We'll see. Way before NASBU, actually, way before we reach coastline. So at Earth tier, we need to be at flight level 110, and because right next to it in Kilo Fox 127, we need to be between flight level 110 and flight level 100, and then we'll start continue our descent to flight level 7000, and then again a new constraint, anything below 6000 or above 3500 feet. And there's a new speed constraint here, maximum 230 knots, and then we'll jump to the approach mode. And as we do so, if nothing changes, we have selected the direct ILS approach to runway 28 via ILS Zulu. And what this ILS tells us is that it's the standard 3 degrees descent. So we'll be descending on the glide path at heading 282 degrees right here. This is a radial, by the way. It's called a radial. So we're taking the radial 282 out of north. So let's consider north. There's actually a north indication here somewhere. Well, if it's not indicated, it means the north is just up on this chart. So the north is up there, and what we're going to do is we're going to make a very long approach from the previous chart all the way down to the runway, which is assigned currently as runway 28. As for the other approach, so why do we have a Zulu and a Yankee? Well, they differ mostly of procedure. So this is a standard 3 degrees now glide slope all the way down to the runway. What's the difference? Well, the Yankee most likely will have a different approach. First of all, it's a closer approach. As you can see, the Zulu is much longer. It goes all the way from Lucar, then KF128 is actually the initial point for this approach. The Yankee one is much closer, so it starts here, same heading, but at approximately 8 miles out of the runway heading, or runway itself. And as you can see, the procedure demands that you go to the airfield VOR and then make a left-hand turn and then turn into the runway. So it's not a direct approach. So most likely the Zulu one is going to be picked because it's a direct approach. You don't have any. We do have a holding point at Adova, but that's it. All the way down to Adova, it's a direct straight line to the airport, and then again a direct straight line to landing. And this is what pilots want. This is what ATC wants as well. And if there's too much traffic, they just tell you to make a hold in Adova or just make a turn for traffic separation. This is very straightforward, actually. I'm looking forward for this approach because it appears to be quite easy to follow. Not sure if it's going to be easy to land, but that's another story. So we got our clearance decision height is 369 barometric altitude right there, 369 or 200 radar or radio altitude. So we are going to pick 200 for our approach, and as you can see, we're still swinging. Not really sure why. The wind is quite mild, but yeah, it keeps swinging from one side to the other, probably because of our jump earlier. It's not very pleasant for the passengers though. So let's request weather for our destination here. So we're going to go for Eitsu AOC weather, and selected BIKF Bravo India Kilo Fox, and let's request a METAR. So let's go for our ACARS, and there's our weather for Keflavik, sorry. So wind is 300 at 8 knots. Conditions are pretty good. Keflavik. We got a few clouds, scattered clouds, broken clouds, nothing serious. Temperature is 14, QNH 09 or 94, so it's a very low QNH. That means there's a low pressure over the airfield. As long as QNH is not too close to dew point, so that's 10, it's the dew point. If you had like 14 degrees and 13 or 14 dew point, it means it was raining. Or at least it's so damp that it may rain soon. But the clouds seem okay, few scattered, broken, nothing serious. Weather seems okay. We do have some weather on the approach. We had some weather on the approach. Apparently it's been cleared according to our radar. But this radar cannot really be relied upon because it doesn't tilt. So the radar antenna doesn't tilt, and that's a big no-no, because we wanted the antenna to be tilted up or down to give us the correct weather that we want, and this is not possible currently. And this is both on MFS 2020 as well as 2024. It's just Asobu Studios and Microsoft never came around to build a proper weather radar system, which is a shame. So we are 160 miles from the top of descent. As we get somewhere like 40 miles away, we will get clearance from ATC to start our descent and prepare for landing. So you guys, this is the FlightSim Labs Airbus A321 Neo. You've seen a few features that this plane already have. It's a wonderful experience to fly it. It's very intricate, very in-depth. I believe it's a plane for all types of simmers. If you just want to fly the plane, you can just fly the plane. If you want to go deep into its systems, you can also go deep into its systems. If you want to use failures, if you want to go through with the very intricate and complex MEL systems, so minimum equipment list, you can also do that. You can follow full procedures or almost full procedures. Whatever is missing is not essential for the flight. But what is present is very in-depth and very thorough. So if you want to win this plane, fly it for yourself, I have a key for FS Labs A321 Neo to give away. So if you're interested, there are two conditions. First condition is help me reach 100 subs. It's not much for what YouTube, the big, I mean the big channels have way more than that, but for me it's a big thing, reach 100 subs. And if you help me reach 100 subs, then all you need to do is come down to the chat here and tell me why it should be you winning this plane, and I'll gladly listen to you and make my own decision. But I'll announce publicly once I reach 100 subs who I picked, and I already have a couple of names in my mind, but I need to reach 100 subs, otherwise I would just give it away right now, because I really want you guys to experience this amazing plane. So again, FS Labs A321 Neo. If you want to help me, help the channel, I'll appreciate it, number one. And number two, there's a plane in it for you if you guys are willing to help. More information in the description, and there's also a nice little video explaining exactly how to win. This is the Icelandair A321 NXLR. This is not an official paint, which is a shame. This is a third-party painter that created this paint job. He actually created a pack, so it's available in FlightSim TO for those interested, and it has multiple airplanes with different tail colors. Well, not the entire tail, but this magenta stripe, this one right here, different registrations have different colors. For those that are interested in collecting, the whole pack is available. I believe it's 4 different paint jobs. Icelandair is a fairly small airline. It operates mainly, of course, out of Iceland. If at all operates anywhere else, I believe they only operate to Iceland. The flight today from out of Toulouse is actually a fictional flight. Icelandair does not fly out of Toulouse to Reykjavik. In fact, I believe there are only 3 or 4 main cities that fly to and from Reykjavik or Keflavik. Most of the flights that I've seen are regional, of course, and then to the United States, to be honest. After this flight in particular, I'm preparing a very interesting flight. I will not say it yet because I want to keep it more or less. I've mentioned it before, but I don't think people are paying attention. But I'm preparing a very nice flight next. Very unusual. You know me, I like unusual flights. And it's not going to be the first time I fly there to this particular destination after Keflavik, but it's an airport I like very much, not because it's extravagant, it's huge, or because it has a beautiful terminal. Well, the terminal is neat, it's a matter of tastes, but because it's a challenging approach, and it has one of the most alien looking approaches that I've seen in the flight simulator, and the people that made that airport are really keen on details, and I like to fly there every once in a while. I usually take a long hauler. I usually take the A350 there, but just to give you a clue, one of the planes that flies to this small airport, it's a small airport, is one of the as far as I know, The biggest plane that flies to there is an A330, so it's not far-fetched to send in an A350. Wingspan, yeah, wingspan is a bit bigger, but A330, if an A330 flies there, trust me, an A350 can fly there as well. And what's fun about that airport is that it has no ATC. So it's a radar operator, ground radar operator, and then it's mostly like Unicom, if you want. And it's a very fun place to go. I always like to fly to these small airfields in the middle of nowhere. Switching over to Reykjavik control.
Center on 125.5, Icelandair 3422.
Thanks, Betsy.
Reykjavik Control, Icelandair 3422. Good evening, flight level 360.
Icelandair 3422, Reykjavik Control, radar contact.
Alright, they got radar contact, which is good. By the way, how do ATC find us? Of course, they say they found us, they got us on radar, so they are using radar. But how do they know who's who in flight? So, for anybody that has seen how a radar scope looks like, they just see blips, you know, like I'm a blip. If the guy flying next to me is another blip, the guy north is another blip, and if yeah, thank you, Andrew. And if you have multiple planes in the same area, you have multiple blips. So how do they know who's who? Well, that's where our transponder comes into action. So over here, you can see that I have this thing called TCAS, norm, TIRA, and then we got this thing, Squawk 3150. This is like my single license plate, if you want, for this flight. So it changes every flight. It's given by ATC, and it's handed over from ATC to ATC. They know that they see a blip. That blip is cross-checked with my transponder emission, so I'm constantly broadcasting this signal 3150 over the air, over radio in a special frequency. And what happens is that through triangulation, and in modern days it's probably also using other means, but consider this: my transponder, as I'm broadcasting my transponder, there's someone picking it up and making a correlation between what my radar blip is and what my transponder is. And so in the radar scope, not only will they see my blip, my radar contact, but it will be named with my transponder code. And that's not all that transponder mode Charlie or mode 3 transmits. It also transmits altitude, airspeed, and current relation to north. So it's very precise, but it's not, of course, fail-proof. That's why it's redundant. So they use both radar contact and transponder correlation to know who I am. So in the middle of a furball with a lot of planes mixed together, they can clearly see who's who and not get mixed up. It's a neat feature as long as I keep my transponder on. As soon as I turn it off, for some reason, all they have is a blip. Fun, well, that's not fun, but a fact. Not fun fact, but a fact. This is how the infamous Malaysia Airlines flight that disappeared in south near Australia, or somewhere in that vicinity. This is how they escaped detection, whoever did it, for whatever reason. I'm not saying they did it intentionally. The transponder was turned off, so all they had was raw radar data to follow, and there was just a blip, no identification. They just figured out that must be MH flight, because all the other flights were identified except for that one. That one was missing, so it must be them. And then they lost it because, of course, when they go below Earth's horizon, radar no longer picks it up, so that's why the plane got lost. Well, that's why we don't know where it is. All right, 45 minutes to top of descent. Well, I'm getting pretty close to top of descent right now. Like I said earlier, I couldn't teleport closer because I would be entering my top of descent, and there it is. I'm at 80 miles from the top of descent, going at a very fine cruise, only 11 knots nose wind. That's nothing. We're doing Mach 0.76 right now. We can actually accelerate that. I can pull this out, and I can just accelerate to Mach 0.80. This will give us a little more speed. Of course, we are ignoring our cost index, so we are costing our airline a bit more than desired, but we just want to get that faster. So, yeah. So we are at 3 hours of flight, not real 3 hours of flight, but we have virtually flown for 3 hours, performing a jump that teleported us 2 hours and 20 minutes into the future. That was a very good jump. As we reach 40 miles out, I will call in for the passenger seat belts. This swinging left and right was caused by our teleporting, so try not to teleport yourself too far, because this will not do wonders for your flight model and your logics, flight logics. Coming back to our landing calculator now. So we are going to go for runway 28, and we're going to go for all reverse and AC on. Config. Yeah, let's land full config. So let's calculate. So we got a V approach speed of 134 knots. That's a very good low speed. Enables us to look around and make sure we are heading in nice and steady. So this is the final waypoint before descending. All done. We will get our clearance more or less over here where my finger is pointing, little finger is pointing. Then ATC will call us to descend, and Betsy will be kind enough to agree with that. If she's in the mode, of course. If she's not in a good mood, then we might stay up here forever. We got 2 hours of extra fuel, so between Keflavik, so let's imagine we reach Keflavik and we have to make an hold. We have to hold. We got 40 minutes, well, 30 minutes of reserve fuel there until we reach what's called a point of no return. So if I need to make a holding pattern that goes beyond 30 minutes, and then there's an issue that I cannot land, I have a 2-hour fuel reserve to go back to England, to northern England, where there's an airfield. That's my alternate. You might say, well, why didn't you choose Reykjavik as an alternate? Again, I don't think that airfield has enough clearance for my aircraft. Remember, I'm flying an A321, not a Cessna or a King Air, so I might not be able to land safely. So I don't think there's any bigger airfields than Keflavik in Iceland either. So it's a one-way ticket, and if it's not available for some reason, then might as well just come back. Now I'm going to take a huge leap of faith here and put my landing runway as dry. Again, this is a very big leap of faith because I really don't know. According to the METAR, it's dry. Dew point is also 10 out of 14 degrees Celsius, so it's probably not reading, so I'm taking a leap of faith. I usually do, and I am usually not wrong, so we'll see. So we are reaching Reykjavik's or Iceland coastline. I just turn on the terrain on ND so you guys can see it. So right after Halden. When we start our descent, we'll go to Nasbu. We have our feet dry, and then we'll decelerate all the way down. So this is going to be like a straight-in approach, probably 40 miles of straight-in approach or something. So we are 40 knots more or less away from our top of descent. We are going to receive our descent clearance at any point now. And just reviewing our approach, we are going through, if we do get this approach, because it might change. So where's our star? There it is. We're going through Nasbu all the way in until Adova. Then on Adova, we will intercept ILS Zulu for runway 28. There it is. So this is Adova, so we're going to go all the way down here to the airport. So first, let's go back to our star. I really hate this scrolling system. Here we go. Let's go back to our weather radar. We can put our Betsy ND with terrain display. You can see the runway right there. So we don't have much room for errors. As you can see, it's cloudy over the approach as we expected. We saw the weather earlier. Let's request the METAR again. Just to confirm if there's any change. There's a new weather report. So again, we got few clouds, wind is 2908 knots, temperature 14, dew point 10, QNH 994. So it's a very low QNH. Let's insert this data now. So QNH 0994. We got our temperature is 142908. 290/8. We're going to go for config full, and our radar altimeter will be 200 feet. All right, approach data inserted. Let's go back to flight plan. So our VAP, as we remember, is 131 knots. Let's just confirm it. 134 knots, sorry. 134 knots. Let's confirm with our performance page. Should be more or less the same. 134, there it is. So VAP approach confirmed. So we're at below 40 nautical miles. Let's turn off our equipment and let's turn on our seatbelt signs. I believe we can hear the PA. Just need to reduce this a little bit so you can hear the flight attendants, the purser actually talking. So weather, we got some weather, some mild turbulence, nothing serious. This could just be water, rain, not just turbulence. So for those aiming for a career in aviation, being a pilot these days is you're more like a systems operator than anything else. It's 15 minutes of excitement and 2 hours of boredom, to be honest. Pilots are trained to look at instruments and monitor. That's it, most of the flight. The only time they actually intervene.
Reykjavik control. Expect nav to Hotel, runway 28.
All right, so this is the one we we were expecting.
Expect Nasbu 2 Hotel, runway 28, Iceair 3422.
Let's just confirm that. You know me, I like to confirm stuff. So we got NASBA 2H, runway 28 Zulu. Probably these two items. So this is the one they gave us, ILS 28 and the expected star NASB 2H. But then we'll get the confirmation later if it's an ILS Zulu or Yankee, and if we gotta go for the Adova. I believe we will. This is the Alden right here. Then the next one, I believe it's already Aldova right there. So they might give us a transition through Aldova. We'll see. Adova, sorry. And I can only get this confirmation afterwards. I'm not sure if this is real life, like real life. I believe ATC is a little more flexible than that, but it's good enough. It allows you to prepare yourselves. Is the chat frozen? I had this problem the other day. I think the chat just froze. So if you guys are talking and I'm not responding, I'm sorry. Sometimes I think the chat just freezes on my phone because I'm using my phone to monitor the chat. So just about to make our turn, and then we'll start our descent. ATC often gets a little anxious and asks if you are ready for descent. Sterile cockpit, right on, AMC, Richard. Alright, let's go.
Iceair 3422, NASBA 2 Hotel, runway 28. Report ready for descent.
Yeah, we're ready. You can tell them we're ready, Betsy. Thank you.
Nasbu 2 Hotel, runway 28, call when ready, Iceair 3422.
No, I said you can tell them that we're ready. Why do you do this, Betsy? Why do you do this? Just say what I'm telling you.
Iceair 3422, approaching our top of descent, ready for lower.
Iceair 3422, descend to flight level 120.
Let's go back to manage speed.
Descend to flight level 120, Iceair 3422.
And descent. We're going to go for manage descent for now.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will shortly be landing. Please ensure your cabin bag is safely stowed with your laptop inside. Your tray table must be stowed, armrest down, and window blinds open.
So this is our purser talking.
Your seatbelt fastened, ready for landing. Please help us by handing in any rubbish, newspapers, or magazines.
So this is a very long approach. We have 60 miles to the next waypoint with a very steep, shallow descent, taking the time of our lives. Of course, we're flying in the summer. If this was the winter, then we had to worry about icing. And icing does two things. It forces us to constantly be monitoring outside ice formation. Plane has its own detection system, but it's a good practice to constantly be turning on and off, just to confirm if ISA deviation is, of course, allowing for altitude freezing. And another thing it does is if you need to fly with the heating system on, it's also gonna expend a little more extra energy on the plane. So it degrades performance ever so slightly, but it does. At least it did. Now I'm thinking about it. I never flew with ice conditions that regularly on jet planes, but I did fly with propeller planes, and if you have to turn on the anti-ice system on those planes, it always damages your performance one way or the other. And I honestly believe if you have to turn on engine anti-ice, it requires a little less performance from the engines because they're drawing the heat source back to the engine, and in order to heat the outside cell. So I'm not sure if does degrade. Probably does. I need to read about it. It's not important right now, but when winter comes, I need to read about it, see if there's any performance difference. There should be. How's your flight going, Richard? I want to know everything about it. I want to know the rating for the landing. I want to know if the passengers liked it, if they're going to make a bad report on TripAdvisor for you. I want to know everything. So I think we're going to have a slight tailwind turning into Keflavik. So for bearing, Reykjavik is somewhere here. So I believe it's somewhere here. So it would be closer to land than Reykjavik. We can actually see it in a map. But again, I believe Reykjavik does not have enough infrastructure for an Airbus type airplane. At least this is my perception. I could be wrong. So there's Reykjavik right there. Actually, it's midway between Nasbu and Reykjavik and Keflavik. There it is, Reykjavik right there. When I was researching flights, of course, I first go and check what airline flies there. And I was looking at Reykjavik and I saw no flights coming from Europe. Maybe I hit the low season or something like that and there's not enough flights, or maybe there was just no program flights for this week or something, or last week or something. Not sure. I'm not an airline operator. I don't work for these airlines. I don't work for a travel agency. So I apologize if I'm saying something wrong, but I honestly believe that Reykjavik doesn't receive international flights. Nice, Richard. Well, you got the sunset behind you, and I got the sunset right in front of me. But I'm following the sunset, which is a very cool thing, because I departed Toulouse. It was still sunset, and I'm still seeing the sun rays. So at least the radiance, the sun radiance. So I'm pursuing the sun. If I kept going, if I was in a Concorde, I would probably be able to see two sunsets in the same day as they used to. So we got our feet dry. We're already inland, as you can see here from our terrain depiction. There it is. We are inland. So this is the blue side is the sea, North Atlantic Sea, and we got our feet dry. We can't see much because of the cloud cover, but we're flying into Nasbu and then turning in all the way to the airfield. I'm going to keep the weather turned on, but Betsy here is still showing the ground clearance. So the terrain depiction is not radar, contrary to popular belief. Terrain depiction is just a pre-stored elevation data based on a worldwide database available to all airplanes. Basically, the plane has like an hard drive with this info, and it correlates its current position with that map data, and it gives you elevation data. So, and it's very accurate. So whatever you see there, there's green. You can see there's some green blobs there. So There's a color code for that, so it goes from green to yellow to red and magenta. Anything above green is, well, if you see a green indication, it means that you need to pay attention to your altitude over this area. So this is an elevation like a mountain or something. If it turns yellow, then you are within. I mean, there's a margin for this, but you will be within a safety hazard. And if it's red, of course, you will collide with the ground. So this is part of the ground proximity system. Again, it's not based on radar data. It's not the airplane reading the ground data. There used to be the case in early radars, but not anymore. Now the current radars are only Doppler radars for weather. They don't depict ground, or most of them do not. The military ones still do, but that's a different frequency, different type of radar, different everything. Everything's different on military aircraft. But the civilian aircraft do not do that. Not in general. So there could be some civilian aircraft out there that still have ground proximity radar, but not the commercial airliners for sure. That's also a different frequency of radar. It's a radar, high frequency radar. So last time I was in Innsbruck, you guys saw that it was red on both sides when I'm flying in the valley. That's just pre-recorded data. It's pre-recorded data. It's not real time, so it's just the plane knows where it is. It loads the geographic data for that area, and then tells me, look, there's terrain ahead, there's a terrain above you, so be careful. Just navigate between the terrain data. The terrain actually in Innsbruck can go all the way to red, or I believe magenta is just for weather radar, but you can easily go to red with ground proximity system. And it triggers, what triggers it is of course your own ground radar system. So ground proximity radar, radio altimeter, sorry, not ground proximity. Oh, I'm all screwed up. What I meant is what triggers the warnings are your ground proximity radio altimeter. All right, so when the plane detects it's going down, and when it detects a certain amount of down speed, so down velocity, it triggers the sensors, and it just brings to your ND the indication that terrain ahead. That's what it says, terrain ahead. And if you get too low, it will tell you terrain, pull up. So there are two different indicators. Terrain ahead is just telling you, look, be careful, there's terrain, I detected terrain ahead, just be careful. And if you go terrain to pull up, then you're well within the margins of error, and then it's telling you, dude, don't mess up, you're gonna crash. Passing 16,000 feet, flight level 160. I'm actually not familiar with oh, there's some big weather up ahead. We're going to go through some very nasty clouds here. Again, I was saying I'm not familiar with the transition altitudes here. We're more or less on this straight line now. So we're going to go through all the way to Adova. So airport elevation is actually pretty low, 170 feet above sea level. It's a straight-in approach, nothing to it. As you can see, these orange blobs, these are elevation marks. So it's telling me, for example, for Nazbu, before I reach Kilo Fox 328, there's a warning for 4,000 feet contour. So there's a hill or a mountain here at this point here. So this is what serves the purpose. of these blobs, these orange blobs. So here I'm coming into my first constraint. I'm going to reach 12 flight level 120, and then I'll probably get clear to descend further. We'll see. I'm going to reach this flight level 120 above Earth here, and I should be anything above flight level 110, so I'll be quite okay. At this point I can just continue to move this knob all the way down to my approach altitude, which will be, I think it's going to be 3,000 feet, but we'll confirm that. I don't like to take guesses. So there it is. So yeah, 2,500, not 3,000, but close enough. So if I wanted to be like super ace pilot, I would just move this knob to 2,500 and that's it. But ATC has not cleared me down to those altitudes, and I run the risk of overshooting my... Alright, let's go one. See? It will eventually allow me to descend through my flight path, but let's not risk it because we don't have clearance. So they just give me the lowest constraint on the next waypoint, which is flight level 100. I believe the cloud layer is somewhere at 6,000 to 7,000 feet. We'll see. So in the moment, I'll turn on my track IR so I can have free head movement. And let's go back to 20 miles. Yeah, there's some not severe. It's all green. There's no reds, no yellows. But there's some weather up ahead. If there was red blobs here, if we really wanted to, we could go around, counter these weather formations. But there's no actual guarantee the cloud will be exactly there. All right, let's go to Keflavik. They call it Keflavik. All right, my bad. Any Norwegians out there?
Icelandair 3422, flight level 100 with the numbers.
Not Norwegians, sorry. Oh my. Any Icelanders out there? Alright, we got Zulu via Dover. Confirmed. Nice. It's exactly what we had planned.
QNH0994, expect the ILS Zulu runway 28.
This is it.
Icelandair 3422.
I love when a plan goes right.
Icelandair 3422, descend to 7,000 feet. QNH0994.
7,000.
Descend to 7,000 feet. QNH0.
Landing lights on. Passing 10,000 feet. We're going to dive into the clouds now. Let's aid the descent with some speed brakes. We got some very rough weather, hopefully not affecting our approach too much. We're making a very steep descent. This is by design, so we can keep up with our managed descent. Our next constraint will be 3,500, but let's carry on descending. I'm going to take my risks here. Altitude to local.
Icelandair 3422, descend to
Rain.
3,500 feet.
3,500 feet.
To 3,500 feet. Icelandair 3422.
Altimeter set.
Icelandair 3422. Cleared directed over. Crossed over at or above 3,500 feet. Cleared ILS Zulu runway 28.
Alright, we're clear for the ILS. It's raining,
Cleared directed over.
so
Crossed over
my
or above
leap of faith was
3,500 feet.
unjustified. Let's go
Cleared
for a
ILS
wet
Zulu
runway.
28.
Auto brake to
Icelandair
medium.
3422.
Let's recover our speed brakes. It's raining like heck now. Alright, let's call in our approach. Let's go to manage descent now. We got tailwind, which is never good. There's a runway right there. Alright guys, wish me luck. Let's go for the jet landing. Oh, not yet. This is a different one. I was going for the approach checklist. Yeah, localizer looks good, but we got some very bad tailwind right now. So we're crossing Adova, a little below the clearance, but we're fine now. We're just descending. We still have rain going. You can barely see it, but there's rain. We got very low visibility, by the way. So let's turn on our AP2. We got a double Cat 3 approach. Because we can't really see the runway right now. And if we got Cat 3 available, might as well just use it. We'll see as we get closer. If we can clear it for a manual landing, we'll do just so. We are maintaining altitude for now. We'll intercept ILS from below, as the rule books say. We got blue GS, blue glide slope, means that it's armed. Same with brake mediums, they're also armed. We got localizer intercepted and locked. Here comes the glide slope. So the GS will turn, altitude will turn to GS and then GS star. So the plane is decelerating. Let's help it with flaps 1. Speed check flaps 1. Let's turn on the gear lights, although they don't serve a purpose right now.
Contact Keflavik Tower 118.3. Have a good evening.
Track IR is on.
Contact tower 118.3.
So we got glide slope star. Still no visual. Rain. I don't think you guys can see, but it's raining like heck now.
Icelandair 3422, Keflavik Tower.
Now it's cleared. We're out of the clouds.
Runway 28 cleared to land.
2,500.
2,500 check. Yeah, the bad weather was just inside the clouds. It's clear now. There's no lucks. There's no such thing as luck, Richard. Either skill or lack of it. I may not have enough of it sometimes, but I try. Alright, speed check, flaps 2.
2,000.
2,000 check. Alright, landing checklist. Landing gear coming down. Gear down. I said gear down. Here it goes. Signs are on. Cabin is not ready. We'll need to wait. Spoilers are armed. And flaps set to landing. Speed check flaps 3. Speed check, flaps full. Waiting for the cabin ready indication. Come on, guys. Prep that cabin.
1,000.
1,000 check. They had so much time to prep the cabin. Alright, turning off the autopilot. Autopilot off. Slightly from the right, crosswind. It's fairly in line with the runway. No big deal. Check.
300 above.
Check.
Minimum.
Continue. A little low.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20. Retard. 10. Retard. 5.
Smooth like a baby's butt. Reverse. Auto brake set. Idle.
Auto brake off.
Auto brake off. Wilco.
Exit next available taxiway. Icelandair 3422.
Alright, let's exit via. Thank you. India, I believe. It's a high-speed exit, that's why you have the yellow and green lights. Runway exit procedures. Flap is open, starting up here. We don't have an after landing checklist, but we're going to run the memory items. Turn off the radar.
Ground 121.9er. Icelandair 3422.
Clear flaps. Let's request taxi to the assigned gate.
Icelandair 3422. Request taxi to assigned gate.
Icelandair 3422. Gate 8 taxi by Kilo 3. Charlie 3. November 4. November 13.
Alright, we got Charlie.
Gate 8 via Kilo 3. Charlie 3. November 4. November 13. Icelandair 3422.
So let's see, gate 8. Where is gate 8? So this is D November. So we just landed on 28. We are somewhere over here. So we're going K3, C3. All right, so turning next left, and then November 4, November 13. Where the heck is November 13? What? There's no such thing as November 13. I wonder if it means this East apron. I can see November 13 if you guys can see it. Sorry. But I think this is the international terminal we need to go through. So, again, I'm going to call in my Beyond ATC map that you guys unfortunately can't see because it's an application running outside MSFS, but I'll make my best to tell you where to go. So this is going to turn to K3 as planned, and then the first left turn right there. APU is available. So let's turn on the bleed and let's perform single engine taxi in. Number 1 shut down. Let's turn off the terrain on ND as well. So not here, we need to go, this is a different terminal, not the one assigned to us. So we're going to gate 8. So for those wondering, yes, single engine taxi is a thing. It saves fuel, it saves engine cycles, engine hours, it saves oil, saves a lot of things. So you might say, well, you turn off always the same engine, number 1. Yeah, that well. Engine number 2 has the PTU assigned, so it's good practice to, if you're performing SETI or SETO, which is single engine taxi out, turn off the one that's not occupying the hydraulic PTU. So always turn off number 1, but you must remember that these engines are switched very often, so they take one engine out and switch to the other side and vice versa. So if the one engine has more cycles than the other, then they just switch. And they can also switch between planes, not just between in the same plane while switching sides. Here we go. Next turn, this one. Thanks, Jose. I believe it was one of the smoothest landings I ever done. And I'm not known for making smooth landings, so it's always a plus. So our gate will be on the other side of this building, so we need to go around it. So you see international airlines there, Edelweiss, Transavia. I could have come in Transavia, but I picked Icelandair because it's a national carrier. I actually was thinking about bringing Transavia again, but I like this Icelandair livery as well. So this is yeah, the one K12, right? November 12th, sorry. And now there should be another taxiway. It's not this one. These are aprons. So 8, there it is. You see the triangle and an 8. That's where we're going. So follow this triangle. So it most likely will turn somewhere over there. Over here, I mean. I think we'll be parked next to this Transavia, or at least one parking spot beyond Transavia. We'll see. Let's see if we get a Gangnam Style again. That would be nice. Last flight, I managed to get a perfect lineup on the gate, and yeah, there it is. And the guy, the marshal, started dancing Gangnam Style. That's an Easter egg from GSX. So this is 6, and mine is probably this one. Gate 8. Yep, there's a marshal. We'll see. So we need to follow the yellow line here as best as we can. And there's 8 right there. So this is us. Turning in. See if we get a Gangnam Style. I think it only works with the Marshall. So if this thing has an automated system, it may not get Gangnam Style. So it's on. Let's zoom in. A321. Let's turn left as it's requesting us to do. All right. Taxi in. Nice and smooth. Like a baby's butt. Slow down. No rush. Come on, don't do this to me. If you're wondering how this works, this docking system has a little camera that has some of them even have a laser ranger, but the digital cameras are enough to know exactly what the plane is, at what distance it is, if it needs to turn right or left. Oops. There you go. 1.1 meter. And stop. Right on. Parking brake set. Okay. No Gangnam Style though. Do we have Gangnam Style? Nope. And we turn off our external lights. We got our APU running, so switch off engine number 2. Engine's pulling down. All right. Parking checklist. Engines are both off. Weather and predictive weather is off. Fuel pumps are off. Let's request our APU. No GPU available, so we need to do it manually. It's usually like this. Well, let's just call a passenger. See if it works. Passenger deboarding. There it comes. So this light trigger works on deboarding, but not boarding. Not pushback. Prepare for pushback for some reason. Here comes the jetway. It's an awfully big jetway. This is designed for bigger planes. All right. Switch off seatbelt signs. Still no GPU, so we're going to need to request it manually. Here it is. Nice knock on the door. GPU is connected. Let's turn off our APU bleed. So remember to turn it off. Turn off pack 1, APU bleed off, turn it back on. We're not turning off and on. We're turning it off, yes, but we're switching back to auto. And since we're turning off to have ground power, the packs will be shut down anyway. Alright, we're waiting for the passengers to unload. Let's continue on with our parking checklist. So engines are both off, radar and predictive weather system is off, fuel pumps are off, and parking brake is set. Parking checklist complete. Let's wait for the passengers to start exiting. Doors are open. And the passengers are leaving. Alright, so let's go for the secure the aircraft. ADR is set to off. So this is a complete secure. It's not like the previous checklist we were running. Oxygen system, let's go ground control. Oxygen system is set to off. APU bleed is off. Emergency lights to off. Signs to off. APU and battery to off. So APU is already turned off. Let's turn off our batteries. Let's remain on external power. And yeah, welcome to Keflavik in Iceland. I hope you guys enjoyed this flight as much as I did. Pretty uneventful, which is always nice after a mishap on last Sunday. This is the FS Labs A321 Neo. It's a very wonderful plane to fly. If you guys want to fly this plane yourselves, I got a key to give away. Read in the description below how to win it. I thank you all for coming. I thank you, Richard, Andrew, Jose. It's a very pleasant flight we had today with you guys as company. I hope you land very soon. AMC, Richard, thank you for your friendship and your enthusiasm as a fellow simmer. And next flight will be a bit of a surprise, so if you want to stick around, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, be here on the next flight. I think if you like challenges and small airfields, the next flight is just for you. So again, thank you for coming, and have a very pleasant day, pleasant evening, that is. And I'll see you next time. Bye.
I love to fly up in the sky. Through the clouds I reach so high, climbing up to touch the light. Adventure calls me day and night. The wind, it sings a melody, guiding where I long to be. I'll spread my wings and chase the sun. No limits when the dreams begun. The world below fades out of sight as I soar into the light. The stars above begin to shine, painting trails so bright and fine. Every turn brings something new, endless skies in brilliant blue. The wind, it sings a melody, guiding where I long to be. I'll spread my wings and chase the sun. No limits when the dreams begun. The world below fades out of sight as I soar into the light. I'll spread my wings and chase the sun. No limits when the drums begun. The world below fades out of sight as I soared into the